at the beginning and then get into detail. So like, I just want to give you guys an overall idea of a bunch of different stuff first. So like I said last week, what we're doing today, tomorrow, at least Monday, probably Tuesday also, is just going over this 140 question multiple choice test. So we are going to go over it very slow and in detail, but when I go over every problem, it's not necessarily just going to be, let me show you how to solve this particular problem that's given in front of you. It's going to be like, well, okay, now that we're here, if you're like, well, what if it said this and you want to ask that while we're there? Like, we can branch off a lot. We're using this instruction. This should help you a lot. This is going to end up counting as 2 quiz grades, and it's you writing notes as we go along. And you have to write with every problem. Now, again, we're going to do this over 4 days. Some problems are going to have a lot of writing and some problems aren't. But we're going to go over a lot of main topics, and that's why I was saying stuff like, if you like colors like I do, like if I want things that are off to the side that are like, hey, these are terms, or these are me solving. So like, in my mind, colors work better because it kind of organizes things. That's just what I meant by the colors there. I have purposely not told you what your score was, what problems you got right, and which problems you got wrong. I think, number one, people pay more attention when they don't know that ahead of time, because you have to listen to be able to figure out if you got it right or not. But also, I don't want you distracted by the fact of like, oh, I got this one right, I'm not going to listen, because there's a lot of concepts that I want to cover. So I want to talk about the AP exam itself first. Very generally, I'll come back to this a little bit more specific because I want to spend more time on it. But so there are 40 multiple choice questions, and then technically 6 free response. There's nothing hiding there. Those 40 multiple choice questions, that should be very obvious to you. There are 40 multiple choice questions. Now, free response, now one free response might be a 5-part problem, one might be a 2-part problem. We've seen examples of free response, you kind of get an idea there. Now, this is something that I have purposely not told you about up until now. And I'm going to scare you a little bit and then back up and then make you feel a little bit better. 1 through 5 are what I call like a typical free response. They count, I've got all the breakdowns for numbers that I'll go over when I come back to this later. I just want to touch everything. These are ones that we've seen before. Number 6 is not a typical free response. They call it something. I don't remember the word they call for it. Basically, number 6 is going to count 12.5% of your grade. And it is supposed to be either something we have not taught in class or a combination of multiple things that we've taught in class that we've never put together. So this is where I'm going to freak you out to start out with. I don't talk about that initially because I don't want to freak you out until we get here. What this basically means is if you can figure this one out, great. That helps a lot. If you can't and you can do pieces of it, you're still fine. So, like I said, I'm going to come back and talk about all this a little bit, but I want to mention number 6 while we're here. Eventually, I'll come back and show you a couple different examples of number 6 and see how it is and like how it's outside of the realm of our what we're supposed to teach. Now, these count as 1.875 each, I think, but each one of them is a score of 1 to 4. This one is like 3.125 weight on a scale of 1 to 4. Multiple choice count 1.25 each with no penalty for guessing, so like no penalties for wrong answers. And then let's first look at a distribution of scores. And I'll do that in a second. Okay, so this changes every year, and this is an old one, but in these years, these are the breakdowns of what it took to get each of the different grades. So I'm just gonna look at 2007 just because it's the most recent one there. In order to get a 5, which is the best thing you can get, you would get a composite score of 60. In order to get a 3, which is passing for most colleges take a 3 or higher, you have to get like 32. Oh, that's not the adjusted score. Somewhere between like a mid 30s, lower 40s to pass. Well, let's come back to here. Each multiple choice question gets you 1.25 points. So if you get half of the multiple choice questions right, how many points is that? It's 20 times 1.25. So if you only get half of the multiple choice right, you now already have 25 points going into your free response. Do you see how this should start to make you feel better? So I kind of freak you out with this one, but then on the flip side, you really don't have to do that awesome in our class to do well on the AP exam. And ours is one of the AP exams that's, you've never been in a class before where they're going, okay, if you get half of the multiple choice right, you're doing good. That's never happened before, and it's kind of the first time that you're facing that, and that's why y'all have a little bit of anxiety with it, which I get. Usually we say somewhere between like 25-ish, you're set up pretty good for the AP exam. As far as like, if you got 25 right on the AP exam, then you would be flexible a little bit, be set up good to pass. So don't be freaked out if you're missing about half of the multiple choice, because that's about where you should be, or about at least about where you need to be. Questions on that? So I'm kind of trying to give you both ends there, trying to freak you out a little bit with number 12, but then give you a little bit of hope with how much you actually need to get this right. Another thing is, let's do, sometimes I go over, I don't want the 2020 version. Sometimes I take things for granted that are things that shouldn't be taken for granted. I've had people get to the AP exam before and be like, I didn't see a sheet that was green, and they freaked out. I made it green so that we can talk about it when I say the green sheet. It's not really green, not something I think to talk about. Like they never found it because they didn't see anything that was green and never used the normal sheet on the whole test. They did not do well. So the green sheet is not green. The blue sheet is not blue, and the orange sheet is not orange. They're just all there. This is the 2020 version, which was a little bit condensed. But it's going to be like either in the very front or very back. I can't remember. I'll figure that out. Where like these are all of your equations. This is the condensed orange sheet. And then all of a sudden you're going to get, this is half of your Z table, because I do it 2 tables on one sheet so that we don't have to keep flipping. This is the left side of the Z table. This is the right side of the Z table. This is the T table. There is also a chi-squared table, but we do everything in the calculator, so I just don't teach that. So it will look like this. None of those are in color, just so y'all don't freak out when you get the test and they're not in color. Make sure y'all realize that. All right.
So is that like in the or is it like a separate sheet? Because I know they do some tests.
I think it's all like, it's just like the SAT, like where all your stuff, or like any.
It's like in the book.
Yeah, it's like in the booklet, like either in the front or in the back. Yeah. And like I'll double check all that when I come back. I'm just giving a general, like, these are things that I forget to say that catch somebody off guard. Okay, I think that's all I want to talk about for ahead stuff.